Hi there, my name is Jason dinAlt, and tonight we're going to learn how to cook Oyako Donburi. Roughly translated, parent and child of rice. Well, I think that's roughly right, but I looked it up on the internet 10 years ago. Who knows, could be an urban legend. Anyhow, doing this on behalf of a good friend of mine, Trippy Collie. I had cooked this for him several weeks ago, and he seemed to really like it. He asked me to make a video, so here I am. I'm going to make this video, and going to meet you back up the kitchen. I'm going to drink my tasty beverage here because America. And welcome to my kitchen. You can see I have all the ingredients laid out here, and yes, my kitchen is incredibly small. Yeah, that's basically what I have to work with. So what you'll be wanting is some boneless, skinless chicken breast. If you want some vegetables, I almost always put carrots in it, the onions and broccoli, just whatever works for you. It's not a big deal. Just find whatever veggies are in hand, whatever you think's going to be tasty. Give it a shot. It probably will come out good. You'll want a few eggs. Generally 1 to 4 eggs I think is about right, depending on how much egginess you're really into. You're going to need some soy sauce and some Mirin. Which is probably the most exotic thing, and that's not terribly exotic right there. We have the rice. The rice is ready to go, and I have my margarita, which is entirely optional, not really necessary, but will make this much more enjoyable. So let's go. So first thing we want to do is we're going to cut up our chicken here and cut up our onion. Yeah, it's not really particularly important how I do this. I just kind of break it up a little bit. Close enough. And for the chicken, you can make strips. I usually just kind of cube the chicken, not super critical. There we go. Okay, let's get the pan heated up. This is an inductive cooker. Basically uses a magnetic field to directly heat the metal pan. I'm going to switch it on and set the thing to power level 7, which is about 70% of maximum. That's kind of moderately high by most standards. And so I'm going to put some oil down on the pan here. I'm going to throw in the onions and the chicken. So what comes next is basically just stirring the stuff around so it doesn't burn. Chicken's coming along all right. While this is cooking, I'm going to chop up some of these carrots here. Again, not super critical on how you do this. I've cleaned off my cutting board so it doesn't have chicken goo on it any longer. My carrots are getting away. No! Alright, so I better do this more carefully here. And so I'm basically just making big chunks of carrot. You can chop them finer. I usually just kind of prefer bigger pieces of carrot. Kind of about what you see here. That. Put your hands in that. Toss those in the bowl here for later, since it's not quite carrot time yet. Put my broccoli in here, since we'll be wanting that. And meanwhile, come back over here and stir this before it burns onto the pan. So, also while working on this, I'm going to start my eggs. I have my 3 eggs here. Throw new broccoli in there. Alright, so take your eggs, break them. There. 1, 2, 3 eggs. Take a fork and I'm going to scramble them. This is not exactly rocket science here. You just take a fork and blend it up, and you can work on that while you're stirring up the chicken here. I think things are getting a little too hot. See, it's burning, so I'm going to bring the heat down a little bit. There we go. That's a little better. And then finally, while this is preparing, let's set that to 5.5. So the last part is the sauce. So with the sauce, basically, I'm working with a rule of thirds, and so I'm going to use 1/3 soy sauce. In this case, 1/4 cup of soy sauce. Pour that into the measure. Onto Mirin, and again, 1/4 cup of Mirin. That's pretty heavy, by the way. If you want fewer calories, use less Mirin, but I kind of like it sweet, so I'm going with that. And then I'm going to add 1/3 water, and we have the sauce. It is ready to go. So what I'm going to do next is going to add the sauce to the mix here. Chicken is pretty well browned and cooked all the way through. My onions are starting to look a little bit caramelized, which is good enough. And so we're just going to pour this in here. And we're going to let that heat up until it reaches essentially a low boiling point. As soon as it really starts bubbling, we're going to add more things to it. Okay, starting to bubble there. That's about where I want it. So we're going to throw in the veggies, mix them in. Just basically trying to get an even distribution, get the veggies at least kind of submerged into the liquid part here. Yeah, that looks good enough. Alright, and next we're going to take our egg and we're going to pour the egg over all the vegetables. And we're going to turn the temperature down to low. So basically just want to simmer here. Just kind of pour it over the surface to make it pretty or not so pretty. Essentially the egg is going to cook directly onto the top of there. Nope, and I'm back. Apparently I left the lid in the refrigerator. I now have my lid so I can cover it. And so basically just going to drop the lid on here and going to leave this thing alone for about 15 minutes to simmer. And so still have the temperature set to low. And I'm going to set a timer here. Okay, Google, set a timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
And there we go. So I'm going to kick back, sip my beverage, and wait till the alarm goes off. And I'll meet you back when it's done. And welcome back. It's about 15 minutes later. The alarm has gone off. It's looking pretty good right now. And so I usually don't make this dish with rice because the rice is a whole bunch of extra carbs, but I mean that's more traditionally how it's done. If you want to save on calories, I often will cut back the Mirin to about 2 tablespoons and only put 1 egg in there, you know, to preserve my girlish figure and all important stuff. But anyhow, I did about 14 miles of bike riding today, so I'm good with the extra carbs. We're going to go there. So I'm going to take some rice, put it in my bowl here. So after all, it is parent and child over rice. Looking good. All right. So let's see how it looks. You see how the egg is all fully cooked on the surface there. You can cut the power to the cooker. That out of my way. I try to do this without making a terrible mess. And there we go. So here I am back with my Oyako Donburi. And so essentially the recipe that I showed here is I make absolutely no claims whatsoever that this is anything even resembling an authentic recipe. It's basically the bastardized love child, the recipe I looked up on the internet 10 years ago, mixed with unadulterated laziness because it's like, you know, I should make some Oyako Donburi, but I'm too lazy to go look up the recipe. So I just kind of went with what I had, and then this is what came out, and it's pretty good, and it's easy to make, which is the more important part. Anyhow, cheers!